Welcome back to Mahabharata. In this episode, we journey into the complex and poignant story of Karna, one of the most tragic and misunderstood characters in the Mahabharata. Karna's life is shaped by fate, abandonment, and unclaimed identity. A tale of a prince born to greatness, yet shrouded in secrecy. Our story begins long before Kunti became the queen of Hastinapura. As a young princess, Kunti was chosen to serve the great sage Durvasa. Known for his volatile temper, Durvasa was a sage whose blessings were as powerful as his curse, and he had the ability to sense the true nature of those around him. Young Kunti attended to Durvasa with great respect and devotion, serving him tirelessly without question or complaint. Durvasa, moved by Kunti's dedication, decided to reward her. He blessed her with a sacred mantra, a powerful chant that would allow her to summon any god of her choosing and receive a child as a blessing from that god. It was a divine gift, yet one that came with great responsibility. Durvasa entrusted Kunti to use the mantra wisely, for it was not meant for worldly desires, but a boon that held the potential to shape destiny itself. Kunti accepted this gift with humility, though she was curious about its power. In the quiet solitude of her room, the young princess couldn't help but wonder if the mantra truly worked. Her curiosity overtook her caution, and one day she decided to test it. Kunti went to a secluded spot, closed her eyes, and uttered the sacred mantra, calling upon Surya, the radiant god of the sun. To her amazement, Surya appeared before her, enveloped in a golden light that illuminated everything around him. Awestruck and fearful, Kunti realized the enormity of what she had done. Surya, however, reassured her, admiring her courage and purity of heart. Surya explained that since she had invoked him, she would indeed be blessed with a son, a child born with a warrior spirit and adorned with divine armor and earrings. This child would be no ordinary mortal. He would carry Surya's essence, embodying strength, resilience, and fearlessness. Kunti, however, panicked, realizing the consequences of bearing a child before marriage. The customs and norms of her time would not accept her situation, and she feared the dishonor it would bring to her and her family. Despite her pleas, Surya reminded that the mantra's power was absolute and that it could not be undone. The child would be born, but Surya promised that Kunti's honor would remain intact. No one would know of this divine birth, and her purity would be preserved. In time, Kunti gave birth to a beautiful baby boy, his body radiant and adorned with golden armor and earrings. This divine armor, known as kavacha, and the earrings, kundalas, were inseparable from his body, marking him as a child of divine origin. He was born with the blessings and attributes of Surya, but he was also a child with an uncertain future. Kunti was torn. Holding her child in her arms, she felt the immense love of a mother for her son. Yet, she knew that keeping him would bring shame and dishonor upon her family. Driven by the helplessness of her situation, she made a heartbreaking decision. With a heavy heart, Kunti placed her infant son in a small basket. She adorned the basket with flowers and a piece of her own cloth, a final memento for the bond they shared. Then, under the cover of dawn, she placed the basket into the river, entrusting her son to the waters, hoping that fate would guide him to a better life. As she watched the basket drift away, Kunti's heart broke with sorrow. She didn't know where the river would take him or what kind of life he would have. But she prayed that the gods would protect him. The river carried the basket gently, moving further away until it disappeared from her sight, leaving Kunti with a haunting emptiness. The river, as if guided by divine intervention, carried the infant Karna to the outskirts of a town, where a charioteer named Atirata and his wife Rata lived. They were a humble couple with no children of their own, and had long wished for a son. When they found the basket with the baby, they were overwhelmed with joy and gratitude, believing him to be a blessing from the gods. Atirata and Rata named him Karna, and raised him with love and devotion. Though he grew up in a modest home, Karna displayed exceptional abilities from a young age. His strength, courage, and skill were evident, and he harbored an intense desire to become a warrior. But society treated him as a mere charioteer's son, never as the prince he was born to be. Despite his talents, Karna faced constant rejection. His heart ached as he watched the crew princes training, knowing that he could excel as they did, but lacking the noble lineage that would allow him to train as a warrior. Yet, he held his head high, driven by an unbreakable spirit and a burning desire to prove his worth. As Karna grew older, he learned the art of warfare on his own, honing his skill in archery and combat. He became a fierce and disciplined warrior, determined to be the best despite the limitations society placed upon him. His heart, however, carried a hidden wound, an unspoken longing for acceptance, to belong and to be acknowledged for who he truly was. Karna's life was filled with moments of both glory and heartache. Though unaware of his royal lineage, he embodied the qualities of a true prince: courage, generosity, loyalty, and resilience. His path, however, was marked by hardship, as his origins remained unknown to him and to those around him. Though he shared the same blood as the Pandavas, fate had placed him on a different path, one that kept him distant from his brothers and his birthrights. Karna would go on to become one of the greatest warriors of his time, a figure both admired and misunderstood. His loyalty, especially to Duryodhana, would lead him to make choices that would shape the future of Mahabharata. Yet, throughout his life, he would carry the invisible weight of his origins, the sorrow of abandonment, and the eternal question of his identity. And so, the story of Karna begins, an unclaimed prince whose life would become one of the most moving and complex narratives of the Mahabharata. He was born to the sun god, yet cast away by fate, destined to live a life divided between greatness and struggle, honor and heartache. In our next episode, we will follow Karna's journey into the world of Kuru princes and the trials he faces as he rises to claim his place as a warrior. Thank you for joining us today on Mahabharata, the Echoes of Eternity.